This is another lesson based on your current topic of jobs, year 7. So you can see at the moment your title for this lesson is Les Métiers. What I would like you to do is pause the PowerPoint straight away and have a little think, do a bit of research, go and look up online or in a dictionary how many other words you can find that actually means jobs or even work. Off you go. So here are your answers. As you can see, you have got the word les métiers for jobs. You might also come across this word here, which is quite an easy one, which is simply, I'm going to say this on every single one of my video tutorials. Sorry about the writing. There you go. Les jobs is another word for jobs. You might hear les petits jobs being referred to, which would be like a part-time job or a summer job. Okay. You might also hear or see in some of your titles over all the resources you've been working through, you might hear this one, which can also translate as jobs. And I'm sure as I struggle to write this, you can already, up until maybe that letter, see a connection with an English word, which is, of course, employment. So another word for jobs is les emplois. And there's a little memory technique for you. Okay, a couple more bits of vocab which might be handy to know are the word boulot, which means work. So un petit boulot could be a little job. And also, of course, we know the verb travailler, to work, and le travail means work. So there's lots of synonyms and lots of words in that word family that are really useful to know. Okay, going to do a little bit of a vocab check as we go through. So rather than me asking you to repeat the pronunciation with me straight away, a little vocab test, then I'll reveal it. I will say the correct French so that you can practice your pronunciation too. So have a think, what's the French for hairdresser? Really push yourself and see if you can remember how to write or say the word for each of these jobs in the masculine and feminine form as well, where that is necessary. Okay, so this one is coiffeuse or coiffeur. Feminine one first, masculine one second there. Test yourself. How do we say teacher? If you need time to think, do pause the PowerPoint. We say prof or professeur. And this is a funny one because it never changes. Okay, so I would say, as a female teacher, je suis professeur. So that's kind of one to draw your attention to, because on my previous lesson about jobs, that actual spelling ending there would have created a change, wouldn't it? It would have become professeuse, but it just doesn't. Okay, it's just an exception. How do we say actor and actress? It is actrice for the feminine, acteur for the masculine. Mechanic is mécanicienne, mécanicien. Builder, bricklayer, can you remember? It is maçon, and this also never changes. So maçon is the same whether masculine or feminine. What about secretary? This one is secrétaire, and that is also the same for masculine and feminine, but that probably doesn't surprise you quite so much as maybe professeur, because that's just a weird one. This one is spelt with the letter E anyway. So if we added an extra one on the end, it would just be unnecessary. If you think back now, just for a second, to when you learnt colours. I'm going to write a colour up on the slide. I'm going to go, there's loads that end in the letter E, but I'm going to go for the one that's probably the hardest one to revise with you. So jaune, hopefully you remember, I should have probably written it in the colour yellow, means yellow, okay? It naturally is spelt with an E. So we don't change that spelling. That is the same spelling for masculine and feminine. And the same rules apply for jobs. Okay, what's a salesperson? Quick check. It is vendeur or vendeuse. Policewoman, policeman. What's that? It is agent de police, and that never changes. It's the same for masculine and feminine. Doctor? It is médecin or docteur, and they don't change either. So you might have been tempted to add an E here. Please don't. It's an exception. You might have been tempted to change this to docteuse or doctrice. Again, please don't. It's an exception. What's nurse? It is infirmière for feminine and infirmier for masculine. Dentist. This one is dentiste. Same for a boy and a girl because it is naturally ending in an E anyway. Okay, so what I would like you to do, please, is pause the PowerPoint, print it off, do it however it works for you, Year 7. Giving you there 6 definitions, this time in English, building up the challenge bit by bit. And I'd like you, please, to match up those English descriptions definitions with these 6 jobs at the bottom. Off you go. Okay, so here are our answers. The person who helps build things is maçon, a builder. Who looks after your teeth is dentiste. I think our biggest challenge there is to not say it in an English accent and to apply our lovely French pronunciation. Person helps stop crime, agent de police, and a bit of revision there, please, that there's no feminine ending on that one. It never changes. Teachers in a school, prof or professeur. Timely reminder that there are loads more in French, I would say, of abbreviated words. Person stops you being ill, médecin, and this person does lots of writing and planning, secrétaire. So just a little bit of vocab vision there before we move on to the next challenge, which is the same again. However, I am giving you your definitions and descriptions now in French. So, job 1. Je travaille dans un collège où j'enseigne l'histoire et la géo. Number 2. Je travaille sur un ordinateur dans un bureau. Number 3. Je répare les voitures et je travaille dans un garage. Number 4. Je coupe et je sculpte les cheveux de mes clients. 5. Je travaille dans un café ou dans un restaurant. Je sers les repas aux clients. 6. Je travaille dans un magasin et je vends des produits aux clients. 7. Je travaille dans un hôpital ou dans une clinique. And 8. Je ne travaille pas en ce moment. Okay, I wonder if you've already got an idea of who those jobs could be. So, same as usual, please, Year 7, pause the PowerPoint, print it off, copy it out, whatever works for you, and have a think about who could be being described each time. Moving on. The answers were professeur, secrétaire, mécanicien, coiffeur, serveur, vendeur, infirmier, au chômage. Now, there might be one or two that if we were in a lesson, you might ask me, would it be an acceptable answer? So, for example, for number 2, secrétaire, you might ask me, could it be réceptionniste? And it might well be that it's an either or response. So maybe for infirmier, could it be médecin? You know, if they're both in the field of medicine. So if you think your answer fits the bill, so give yourself a tick. Right, a reminder for you. I mean, we've just done a bit of a vocab check at the start of this lesson, and I was asking you to try and recall the masculine and feminine spellings and pronunciations for all of the jobs we've been looking at. So a reminder that some jobs are different if they are talking about either a masculine or a feminine. So what you have got here on this table is you have got a reminder of all the rules. Okay, so that should really say masculine there. Sorry about that. So male, female, or masculine, feminine. We firstly have got if it's kind of a straightforward spelling of the masculine job, for example, assistant doesn't end in a vowel or any of the weird combinations we're going to look at in a minute, we might just add an E in the feminine. Now, this is our normal how to turn an adjective or indeed a job to feminine rule. We add an E. We've probably known that for a good few months now. Sadly, there's not many examples of that for jobs. There are just a handful. Here's the next rule. If it ends in IER, in the feminine, we do just add an E, do you remember? But it is weird because we also have to add an accent grave, an accent going to the left. Okay? If it ends in IEN, in the masculine, it has to become IENNE, EN in the feminine. If it ends in just EUR, in the masculine, it changes to EUSE. So becomes us, coiffeur, coiffeuse. But be careful, because if it ends in TEUR, it becomes TRICE. So completely different. For example, actor becomes actrice. Now, all of those rules were introduced to you on my first video lesson that I did for you on jobs. So that was just a reminder before we move on. Okay, so can you there categorize all of those jobs that we've listed in the blue strip on the right? There they go. Can you categorize them into two columns, girls and boys, paying attention to those all important endings? Pause the PowerPoint and off you go. Okay, so your answers are coming up in a very random order. So I'll just tap through to the end. There we go. So again, pause the PowerPoint and have a check and just remind yourself of those feminine endings and what needs to change. Okay, can you try a bit of translation for me? Pause the PowerPoint, write these down. It's French into English at the moment, Year 7, revising, saying what other people do. Okay, so this is normally the easier way around, so make the most of it because we're going to flip the translations round in a minute from English to French. So really focus on the sentence structure. Okay, what do they mean? Answers coming up. Pierre est agent de police. Pierre is a policeman. Marie est secrétaire. Marie is a secretary. Daniel est mécanicien. Daniel is a mechanic. And instead of saying the person's name, we'll revise a family member at the bottom. Mon père est maçon. My dad, or my father, is a builder. Okay, so we're still revising, saying what you do, what other people do. So, je suis dentiste. I'm a dentist. Ma mère est dentiste. My mum is a dentist. Mon père est dentiste. My father or my dad is a dentist. Here's another reminder for you. Okay, we always have to remind our classes of all the different grammar rules that need to sink in over time when you're learning a new language. Notice or be reminded that in English we say, my father is a dentist. I am a dentist. My mum is a dentist. But in French, word of warning, we go straight from the verb is to the job. So it looks like it means my mum is dentist. We just don't need the word for un or une. Okay, you just put the verb I am, he is, she is straight into the job. Okay, so I warned you that I'd be flipping the translation round. So it's going to be English into French. So we're thinking about family members, people. We've got the word for my friend at the bottom. Can you remember that? If not, look it up. The verb to be, or even work for sentence C there. You might be able to look back in all of the hard work you've been doing. And some are revising jobs or saying where you work. And please remember that grammar rule about earn and une that I've just recapped for you. Off you go. And here are your answers. My mother is an office worker. Ma mère est employée de bureau. That was on a slide, about 4 or 5 slides back, where I asked you to categorize them into male and female. My father is a policeman. Mon père est agent de police. So before I move on, because the next one's slightly different, we do not have the word un or une here. Okay, straight into the job. Okay, I work at Pizza Hut. Je travaille chez Pizza Hut. Okay, this is a word that is well worth learning. Chez, which I was always taught when I was learning French that it translates as at the house of. It's really handy for saying that you're going to your friend's house, or you are doing some homework at your friend's house, or in this case, it's I work at the house of Pizza Hut. It's a little bit weird. It doesn't really quite work there, but at Pizza Hut. And finally, my friend Chris is a teacher. Okay, so for this one, mon ami Chris est prof. And just to repeat myself again, because it's often needed, no un. Okay, no un there needed at all. Let's move on. Okay, so on this slide, what I would like you to do is read, understand it as best you can, okay, please Year 7, because there's going to be some comprehension questions and some follow-up activities coming after. So pause the PowerPoint and give you a chance to read, pull it apart, understand, translate it in your head. Off you go. Okay. So obviously you have the luxury of just rewinding the video a smidgy bit and go back to the paragraph and try and answer these comprehension questions. Let's check your understanding. What does Pierre do before school? What did it say in the text? It was he delivers newspapers. So you might have had to look up the verb deliver or the verb journaux for newspapers. What job does Dominique have? Secretary. Is Pierre's brother an actor? Nope, he is a sales assistant. You probably recognise the word vendeur. Who was a dentist? It's his father or his dad. And what does Pierre want to be in the future? It was an engineer. If you got 3 or 4 or more out of those questions there, well done. And obviously you know how much you needed to look up and how much you naturally could understand. And you can, make your own targets from there. Right, here is the very same text again, okay? So I have highlighted for you there a really important part of the text. Firstly, a reminder that if you can talk or write in one extra time frame, then you are opening up the door, you are giving yourself the key to a level 5 or more. Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit. So the first thing that I've highlighted, I've put it in green there, is a future tense time phrase. Now this is not a future tense verb, it just means in the future, au futur. Okay, so that's a future tense time phrase, which would fall under the category of fancy vocabulary, really, enhancing a sentence. It wouldn't count as a future tense on its own, but it would if it was followed with a sentence like the one I've put in yellow here. Je veux être, and then ingénieur. Okay, which means in the future, I want to be an engineer. Now, please take a moment to have a think about these 2 words here I'm circling, je veux. And can you think of an alternative phrase that you could use that would do the same job, but instead of using je veux, which might be a bit harder for some students, you could replace it with. So this means in the future, I want to be an engineer. What else could you say instead of I want that you should already know? Have you got it now? I've given you the first letter. Okay, letter of a time. I'd say most of you've probably got it now. And it is, of course, je voudrais. Okay, which we looked at in my last video lesson, actually, on places of work, saying where we not really want, it's a bit more polite, it means I would like. So you could easily substitute that. You could put au futur, je voudrais être ingénieur. In the future, I would like to be an engineer instead. So, one last scribble and one last thing before I move on. It's well worth making a note of all of these notes at the bottom here that are all linked to the future tense. Key to level 5. Okay, so saying what you want to do or what you want to be. We could start our sentence, year 7, with je voudrais, which we've met multiple times before, or the one that we've just met on the previous slide, je veux. And être is the infinitive verb meaning to be. So it translates quite nicely. Je voudrais, I would like, être, to be. Je veux, I want, être, to be. And take it from me, there's not many places or areas in French where you can translate it word for word and it completely works. So again, make the most of it. So do you know what you want to study in the future? Let's have a little look. You can say, I want to study, and add your school subject on the end. So we're going back to our last topic on school. So you could say, je veux étudier. I want to study l'histoire, history. Je veux étudier les maths. I want to study maths. The really lovely thing is that, yep, you do have to learn this phrase, year 7, but then all you have to do is add what we call the infinitive verb. So that verb there I've underlined in green, green for go, because I quite like this. It's called an infinitive because you find it in this exact form in the dictionary. And you don't need to start messing about with endings, which is a big part of learning a language, but at least it's not needed here. So I want to study, je veux étudier, straight from the dictionary. Okay, I want, the verb is étudier, which means to study, and then you can add whichever subject obviously is relevant to you. So je veux étudier les maths, I want to study maths. Okay, do you know what you want to be? Let's have another look, a look at another structure. We've got je veux, again, for I want, but this time we have got a different verb because we're not talking about what we want to study at college or university. We're talking about what job perhaps we want to have, what we want to be. So, je veux être, I want to be, or je veux devenir, I want to become. So, for example, because you've got so many jobs now that you can talk about, je veux être maçon, I want to be a builder. Or, je veux devenir maçon, I want to become a builder. They're both as good as each other. Okay, so at this point, I know I've been talking about level 5 tenses and a little bit of a future tense reminder and some information there for a higher level, but that doesn't mean we don't have to keep reminding you of levels 3 and 4. So on this slide, what you've got is just for reference really, year 7, are some really good justifications and reasons, this is level 4 stuff here, why you might want to do a particular subject or become a particular job, okay, do a particular job or have a particular career, okay? So let's just think back to the previous slide. Je veux être maçon. You could add on to the end of that, I want to be a builder, parce que c'est passionnant, because it's exciting. So then you're getting a future tense, opinions and reasons, all in one sentence, which is just fab. Okay, so what I'd like you to do to finish off with, please, year 7, is I would like you to copy and complete those sentences with the correct justification, the correct reason. So I've done the future tense bit for you. All of those sentences start already with a lovely future tense. So sentence A is je veux étudier. I want to study, and it says French. Then it says because it's very, and I just want you to pop onto the dotted line in the gap the correct adjective for interesting. So this is just, it looks like you're just focusing on translating these adjectives A, B, C and D that are in brackets, apart from D, of course, is much more detailed rather than it just being one word, one adjective. But actually, when you've completed this, if you do take the time to copy it and complete it fully, you've got 4 fantastic, accurate, future tense, level 5 standard sentences. Okay? Bonne chance. Off you go. So, je veux étudier le français parce que c'est intéressant. Oh, sorry, c'est très intéressant. I want to study French because it's very interesting. For B, hopefully you added facile. Je veux apprendre les maths parce que c'est facile. I want to learn, revision of a different verb there from the school topic, learn maths because it's easy. And C, It's amusant. Je veux jouer au tennis parce que c'est amusant. I want to play tennis because it's fun. And actually, I'll draw attention to this one. I'm just going to put a green tick here because this is showing how future tense, adjectives, giving reasons is transferable to another topic that you'll be learning in year 8. And this one, of course, is sports and leisure. And the last one, we're back to careers and jobs. Je veux être dentiste. And what I need there from you is parce qu'on gagne beaucoup d'argent, because you earn lots of money.